All right, so you ready for this? Let's dive deep into Limbo Weight Loss.
Yeah, Limbo. It's everywhere you look these days.
It is this digital health program. It's got people talking, and for good reason.
For sure, combining AI and this personalized metabolic tracking thing.
With a sensor patch, it sounds pretty futuristic, but we're going to break it all down, how it works,
Yeah.
what people are actually saying about it,
The good, the bad.
the good, the bad, and even compare it to one of its biggest competitors, Zoe,
Ooh, good one.
so that you can decide if it's something that you want to try.
Well, the interesting thing about Limbo is it uses AI
Okay?
and a sensor patch, and it tracks your response to glucose.
Okay.
So it basically shows you how your blood sugar spikes after you eat different meals.
So you can see in real time how your body is reacting to different types of food. I mean, is it really that simple?
Well, that's the thing, right? The premise of Limbo is that if you understand your glucose spikes, you can actually start making healthier food choices. So it's not just about the calories in the food, it's about how they impact your metabolism.
Got it.
So when your glucose levels are stable, you can avoid those crazy cravings.
Oh, the energy crashes.
Yeah, exactly. Which often lead us to, grab those unhealthy snacks.
Right, because you need that quick boost.
Exactly.
Because it's more about working with your body's natural rhythms
Yeah.
and not just depriving yourself.
Exactly. That's the whole idea.
I mean, it's intriguing. I'll give them that.
Yeah,
But what about the technology itself?
right.
How accurate and reliable are these patches? I mean, really?
Well, I think the patch technology is always be improving. It's not perfect, but it can give you really useful information. But the accuracy, I think, can depend on a bunch of things, like if you place the patch correctly or differences in people's skin. So, you got to use the data as a guide, but not the absolute truth. You know what I mean?
It's just one piece of the puzzle. That makes sense, but it can be a powerful piece if you use it that way.
Exactly. But the other important piece is the AI part of this whole thing.
Right.
Because that takes the data from the patch and turns it into personalized recommendations.
Yeah.
So it's telling you, okay, this is what you should eat and when, so you can optimize your glucose response.
Okay, so it's like having a little personal nutritionist in your pocket. But is it worth the price tag? I mean, let's be honest. A lot of the reviews out there say this thing is expensive.
It's not cheap. It can range anywhere from 100 to 300 pounds a month.
Wow.
I mean, that's a lot. That's out of reach for a lot of people. But even if you can afford it, then the question becomes okay, how sustainable is this?
Long term. Yeah, exactly. And not to mention, some people are reporting issues with the patch itself, like technical glitches or that it's hard to interpret the data and even slow customer service, which
Right.
if you're relying on this technology, that could be a problem.
Huge problem. It kind of defeats the purpose, right? If you're not getting good support and the data's not reliable.
Right. I mean, it's great to have the information, but it's got to work. So this brings up a really important question. What are your priorities? And what are your preferences? Are you just focused on the glucose tracking, or are you looking for something more holistic?
Right, because if it's a holistic approach you're after, then Zoe might be a better fit because they focus on gut health, and they do this by analyzing your microbiome.
Explain that to me.
So your microbiome is basically this community of bacteria that live in your digestive system.
Okay.
So they have this idea that when you have a balanced microbiome, it's really crucial for everything. Your digestion, how you absorb nutrients, your immune system, even your mental health.
Wow. I did not realize it was that impactful.
It's pretty amazing. So what Zoe does is they help you understand what your unique gut profile looks like, and then they'll give you personalized recommendations to improve the diversity and health of your gut.
Oh, I see. So it's like choosing, do you want to dive deep into your glucose response with Limbo? Or do you want to explore this vast ecosystem in your gut with Zoe?
Yeah, they're really different approaches.
Two totally different things.
Limbo is all about optimizing your metabolism
Okay.
through controlling your glucose, whereas Zoe is looking at the bigger picture, how your gut health is connected to your overall well-being.
It's fascinating that we can even do this, that we can explore these things in such detail now. But going back to Limbo for a second, you mentioned earlier that there are sometimes discounts available.
Yeah, if you're curious about Limbo, but the price is holding you back, it's good to know that they often offer discounts, especially for first-time users.
Oh, okay.
Usually it's around 10 to 20% off.
Okay, so that could help. So let's say you decide to try it out. What exactly does the Limbo program include?
So it's kind of like a three-pronged approach. You get the sensor patch for, constant monitoring. The AI then generates dietary recommendations based on your glucose data. And you also get personalized fitness guidance to keep you moving.
Okay.
But the Limbo patch is really at the core of everything.
It's the heart of the program.
Exactly.
And that's constantly feeding information into the AI so that it can give you all the insights and help you make good choices. But, at the end of the day, does Limbo actually work?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? And it seems like the results really vary from person to person.
Okay.
So the people who really dive in and follow all the recommendations and stick with it long term, they seem to see good results.
Makes sense.
But for other people, it can be hard to stay on track.
Yeah.
And that's going to impact the results, of course. And we should mention too, Limbo isn't the only game in town. We talked about NutriSense earlier.
Right.
And that's very similar. It tracks glucose as well. What other alternatives are there?
Well, if you're really interested in the metabolic tracking side of things, you could look into Lumen,
Oh yeah, Lumen.
because they use this breath analysis to actually measure your metabolism.
Interesting.
And that gives you insights into how efficiently you're burning fat. So it's kind of a different way of looking at how your body uses energy.
Fascinating.
I know. There's so many options out there. So what does all this mean for you, dear listener? Well, here's the thing. Choosing the right program really depends on your own goals, your budget, and honestly, how comfortable you are with using tech to help you manage your weight. If you're someone who loves data and you want to really understand your glucose response, then yeah, Limbo might be worth experimenting with.
It could be a good fit. But if you're looking for kind of a broader approach that includes gut health, the microbiome, overall well-being, then Zoe might be a better choice for you.
Right. So do your research, weigh the pros and the cons, and trust your gut. No pun intended.
There you go. Maybe after this whole deep dive, you're even asking yourself a new question, could focusing on metabolic health, whether that's through glucose or through the microbiome, be the secret to not just losing weight, but also, being healthier overall?
Yeah. It's food for thought.
It is.
I love it. The world of health and wellness just keeps changing and growing.
It does.
And there are always new things to explore and learn about ourselves.
Absolutely.